Okay, let's just do a couple more examples here and talk a little bit more about paychecks and things. So this last section is called working students and taxes. Your gross pay is also known as your base pay. So if you hear that term, it also means gross pay. And it's your salary prior to any withheld taxes for the pay period the check covers. Your gross pay is what you would receive if nothing was deducted. And net pay is the actual amount of your check, excuse me, after taxes have been withheld. So your net pay is actually your take-home pay, what people say is your take-home. All right, example 4. You would like to have some extra spending money, so you decide to work part-time at the local gym. The job pays $15 an hour, and you work 20 hours per week. Your employer withholds 10% of your gross pay for federal taxes, 7.65% for Fica taxes. So this is both Social Security and Medicare combined. 6.2 plus 1.45 is that 7.65. That's where that comes from. And then 3% for state taxes. Okay. What is your weekly gross pay? And then breaking down the different taxes that are withheld. So let's go ahead and look at this. All right. So the first part here is what is your weekly gross pay? All right. So you make $15 an hour and you work 20 hours a week. So you have $15 per hour times the 20 hours that you work. And what we're going to get there is $300. So that's your gross pay before taxes. How much is withheld for federal taxes? Well, your employer is withholding 10% for federal taxes. So we're doing 10% of that 300. So of means to multiply. So when we calculate that out, you're going to take that decimal point, move it 2 spots to the left. So 0.10 times 300 is going to be $30. How much is withheld for your FICA taxes? So FICA is both Social Security and Medicare. And the total is 7.65%, right? Because if you have 6.2% for Social Security and 1.45% for Medicare, that's where they get that 7.65%. So your book does that calculation in one shot. So you can do it that way too. I just wanted to show you the 2 different taxes instead, broken down a little bit more. So for your FICA taxes, you're looking at 7.65% of the $300. Moving that 2 spots over, we have 0.0765 times 300. And what we get is $22.95. Now it asks us what our weekly net pay is. You just want to be careful here because we have to still do our state taxes. So we don't forget that. So our state taxes is 3% of that 300. Okay, so you get $9 here. And then finally, that net pay is going to be your gross pay minus all your taxes. So our gross pay was 300 here, and we're going to subtract out the $30 for federal, the $22.95 for FICA, and then the $9 for your state taxes. And let's see, you're getting 300 minus $61.95. So you're looking at $238.05. So that would be, sorry, your net pay here. Now, there could be other adjustments too. So again, this is not a simple section, so I'm not trying to say that, but taxes can get very complicated. So this is as simple as it's going to get. You could have other deductions coming out of your paycheck too. So different states may have different taxes taken out. Like I said, Massachusetts does have state tax. They may have different deductions as well in addition to this. You may have your retirement deductions. You may have deductions out of your paycheck for healthcare, and so on. So there's actually quite a lot of other things that can come out of your paycheck as well. So we're just talking about a couple of the more basic taxes here. But if you're looking at your own paycheck and you're like, well, what's all this other stuff? Again, different states, different cities, different people have different deductions depending on what they're paying, right? So if you have a retirement plan, or you have, you can even do money set aside for different educational costs like daycare, or health costs and things like that too. So again, everybody's a little bit different, but these are just some major taxes that you tend to see taken out. And the last piece is what percentage of your gross pay is actually withheld for taxes. And we're going to round to the nearest 1/10 of a percent. So this is very similar idea here to a percent change, so like a percent decrease or percent increase. So it's like a percent decrease. How much is your paycheck decreasing each week here? So okay, so our amount of decrease here in this case tends to be our taxes, right, over your original paycheck. So that would be your gross amount. Our taxes are $61.95, and the original amount was $300. And when you divide this, you do get 0.2065. So moving this 2 spots to the right, I get 20.65%. This does ask me to round to the nearest 1/10 of a percent, so it's about 20.7%. So this is your 10th position, and the 5 is going to bump that 6 up 1 unit. So this person here is losing about almost 21% of their paycheck each week just to taxes. And that's not a bad estimate. So if you're getting a new job and you're thinking about how much your net pay is going to be, probably somewhere between 20 and 30 or 35% is probably a good estimate to deduct. So it's not going to be exact, but if you have a new job and you're like, okay, let's see what I could be bringing home, I would subtract in that 25 to 30% range to get an estimate of what you think your net pay is going to be. It could obviously be more or less. The student's only paying about 21%, but it could be more too. So usually I say estimate like 25, 30% for that first kind of paycheck. And then obviously you can go in and see exactly what you did get for your net, but that just gives you a good idea. So if you're getting a new job and they're offering you a salary, think about what you're actually bringing home, right, before you accept it. And usually that 25 to 30% is pretty common for deductions. So it's a good place to start to get an estimate of what your net pay actually is going to be. And the more you make, the more you will have taken out for federal taxes and stuff as well. So that's why it's good to have that little bit of a buffer here. The less you make, so the student only makes $300 a week, their tax bracket is going to be lower. Someone who makes $1,000 a week is going to have more taxes taken out, because if you look at those federal tables, the percentage starts increasing as you have more income. So again, just something to watch out for. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is just a pay stub. So obviously your paycheck could look a little bit different, but this is just a standard paycheck that you may want to take a look at. So pay stubs are attached to your paycheck and usually contain 4 main sections. So one section is on personal information about the employee. So this could be your name, your address, your social security number, and your marital status. So you would see it usually at the top. And you'll also see, your marital status here. So you're claiming single or married. Again, this is a federal designation, right? So single doesn't mean you don't have a significant other. It just means that legally you're a single person. You'll also see information about your earnings. So this could be an hourly wage if you get one, a number of hours worked in a current pay period, number of hours worked year to date, which is usually the total number of hours worked since January 1st of the current year, and the amount earned during a current pay period and the amount earned for the whole year. So again, a lot of jobs have like a January 1st to December system, so that they'll do your amount earned for the year based on January 1st, although it could vary. So you want to check out with your own employer, but that tends to be the most common. So here you can see that this person makes $15 per hour. I can see how many hours they worked. I can see the earnings for the week. For year to date, so total this year, this student has worked 400 hours and they've earned $6,000 altogether. I can see so next category, thinking about their deductions here, you can see your federal deductions for that pay period and year to date. You can see your FICA deductions for that pay period and year to date. Sorry. And often these are broken down with Social Security and Medicare. Sometimes you may not see them combined. You can have state taxes that are showing as well. And you may also even see things like a retirement account being deducted. So I'm just going to plug in so you may see things like retirement deductions or other taxes, other deductions as well. You'll see your gross pay, you'll see your total deductions, and you'll see your net pay for the current period and also year to date. So again, your paycheck typically has what you are currently seeing for the week or bi-weekly, depending on how you get paid. It could be different too. Most people tend to get paid either weekly or bi-weekly, but you could get paid monthly or semi-monthly instead. Or more occasionally if you're more of a contract worker, right? So you'll see your current situation, so what's happening for that particular paycheck, and then you'll typically see what you've paid so far for that particular year. So you can see how much taxes you've paid at the end of the year, and then you also get that when you get your W-2 form sent home around tax season as well. It'll sum up all the taxes you've paid and deductions you've had for the year as well. All right, so that's an overview for your paycheck and taxes. And again, I know it is very complicated. It really is, and it gets much more complicated than even this. So if you have questions about these computations, feel free to reach out to me, of course. If you have more personal questions, you can reach out to me too, and I can probably try to point you in the right direction. But things about your own paycheck or your own deductions, so what kind of deductions can you claim, that's all really for an accountant. And it can change year to year. So something that you may have been able to deduct last year, you may not be able to deduct this year. So it really depends on the federal law for that particular year. But hopefully, I was able to help you see a little bit with how the taxes work and how those are calculated and what to look for on your paycheck.